Now, within 24 hours of the election announcement, you had these people over here at the centre of it. So we're talking here about the people who take the small boats, the channel crossings, and the very first interview Sunak gave after the election announcement, he was asked, will a flight go to Rwanda before the election?
Will the first flight be prior to July the 4th, Prime Minister?
I've said the first flights will go in July.
Yes,
if I'm elected, we will get the flights off. Oh, no, after the election.
So there'll be no flights prior to the election?
Yeah, but the preparation work has already gone on.
Now that, as they say, is #awkward, because the Prime Minister took a bet with Piers Morgan.
I'll bet you £1,000 to a refugee charity you don't get anybody on those planes before the election. Will you take that bet?
Well, I want to get the people on the planes, right?
Understood?
Of course I want to get the people on the planes.
£1,000.
Right.
You can see him, he's got that faraway look, he's thinking I'm in trouble now, because he's remembering, I actually shook the guy's hand. So that, that's a commitment. And then this morning they're not going to honour the bet with Piers Morgan. And the reason they've given today, they're refusing to honour it because they point out that one asylum seeker has gone to Rwanda voluntarily. Yeah, that's right. One. And it was voluntary. It wasn't even under the Rwanda scheme. So that isn't looking very good for the Prime Minister. And I guess that was the price he paid for the early election call. He knew that. The route takes you to Africa, Britain to Rwanda, East Africa, Kigali, the capital of Rwanda. There we are. That's the whole centrepiece of the Conservative plan. Labour has an alternative. They will rip it up. They're going to fund a new anti-smuggling unit, they say. But there are question marks over that, because the Conservatives will say Rwanda is already working, even though it's not happening. And this is a weird piece of evidence to give you. But this is Ireland. And Ireland are furious because they say they've been deluged with refugees coming from the UK who are all worried about being sent to Rwanda. So they've got these tent cities. So there is a case to argue on both sides. And it was Starmer yesterday who hit back at the Prime Minister.
I think the scheme is a gimmick. I'm not flogging a dead horse. I'm not prepared to do government by gimmicks. I want to start on day one, not with flights taking off.
Okay,
but by absolutely investing my political capital in the law enforcement.
No flights take off under a Keir Starmer government from day one.
No flights, no Rwanda scheme, okay. It's a gimmick.
So Lynn, if Labour win, we will never see a flight to Rwanda, not one.
No, and I think this is why they're being disingenuous about actually wanting to stop small boats.
Who's being disingenuous?
Keir Starmer.
Keir Starmer, Labour.
The Labour Party have actually voted 130 times against strong policy which will actually stop small boats. So if they're voting against this, how can we have any trust that they're even going to attempt to stop the small boats?
When you say they voted against it, you're talking about the Rwanda plan or other things?
No, other things.
Everything.
Anything that's suggested...
pushback and all that stuff.
Pushback. And a lot of the MPs, we know that they're for open borders, or we know that they're against sending people back. And the reality is, we have too many people via small boats coming in, and people say there's no safe routes. The highest amount of people coming in are from Afghanistan. There is actually a safe route, the Afghanistani Citizens Resettlement Scheme. Why are they not using that? Then we have thousands.
That's for translators and so on, isn't it, I think?
But there's still ways of them coming in through that scheme because of what happened with the war.
So you go to an embassy in Kabul and you put your papers in there?
Well, yes, or let's look at the people that are coming here with no issues. Albania doesn't have any unrest. We saw over 10,000 Albanians coming in 2023.
In summary, Kevin, Lin believes that Labour aren't serious because they voted against everything.
They haven't voted against everything, but they voted against Rwanda, quite right. And Albania is a great example of how you solve the problem, because there were 10,000, 12,000 people coming from Albania. They were claiming asylum. Albania is a democracy. It's got a Blairite prime minister. It's a member of NATO. We did the deal with Albania to return them. And they almost all go back now. That's the way forward. Now, the problem with Afghanistan is you can't just wander up past the Taliban and say, look, I'm being persecuted, used to work with the British forces. Do you mind if I go to Britain now? One, the British embassy won't accept you like that. I'm not sure it's open at the moment. And then two, the Taliban will persecute you. it's a difficult problem. And I wish Sunak, Starmer would say, look, there is no easy answer.
But isn't the tent city in Ireland, which I showed there, Sunak should use that, shouldn't he?
Yeah,
because they're coming into Ireland in huge numbers because they don't want to go to Rwanda.
Well, relatively small numbers for the number of people who are coming to Britain. It's relatively small, but there are some. Now, the truth is about Rwanda, it'll have a slight deterrent effect. But if you're only going to send 300 or so, and you've got 30,000 coming over, they can do the odds. They will realise there's a 1 in 100 chance of you going. Now, if you do go, if you commit an offence in Rwanda, or in Kigali, in the capital, you'll be sent back. So just take a box of matches, set something alight, you'll have committed a crime, and you'll be brought back to Britain. We've wasted £250 million on this. And for Sunak to hide behind some T&Cs on his bet with Piers Morgan and say, oh, we've already sent one person. That one person...
He should be paying out.
He was given £3,000, a free flight.
It was a different scheme.
5 years being...
I mean, he should pay just
anyway.
On the Piers Morgan bet, he should pay out on that, shouldn't he?
Yeah, but no, he should definitely pay out on that. But if we're just looking at the Labour Party and the Conservative Party and which MPs within both parties are more for removing those who came here via the small boat route, the majority of the MPs in the Labour Party are not in support of removing those people.
Yes, they are. Agree? If you fail, right, the majority of people who, once they've got here, are found to have international legal claims to be here. The majority are, but the others. No, look, you've got to stop the sailings, which is why we're paying France shed loads of money to try and deter them. Secondly, when people arrive, process them quickly. There's a huge backlog under the Conservatives, as you know. Labour in 1997 inherited a similar system where cuts and not having enough people meant there was a huge backlog. You've got to deal with people quickly. If they're legally entitled to stay, say so and let them work. If they're not, then you've got to send them home.
If you're saying that the Albanian route worked, why did we have in 2023 over 10,000 Albanians coming here via the small boat route? And like you said, there's no unrest in their country. Why couldn't we send them back?
Because the government you are defending and think deals with it better hadn't made the deal. It was slow. That's what that was the problem.
But the counter to your point, Kevin, surely, is that the government then tried to chop through a lot of these cases really, really quickly. They then put out a load of numbers saying they had done. The numbers turned out to be all wrong. This is James Cleverly. And not only that, we discovered that once you really try to process them fast, a hell of a lot of people go missing, as you'd understand. They realise their claim is not going well, and they simply vanish.
There is, which is why you have to do it very quickly.
But I don't know. Labour will have the same problem.
With what infrastructure? If we're seeing thousands upon thousands come in, how do you employ that many people to deal with that many individuals coming in? You said process it quickly. How?
You got to hire and train the people to do it quickly, which hasn't happened. Look,
we've got Brian in Newport.
There was no easy answer. I'm not pretending there is, but Rwanda is a con.
But why stop it?
Hang on, guys. We got Brian in Newport who takes priority here. Hi, Brian.
Hello.
Hello.
I think Sunak is the one because Labour can't just make a super duper police force that's going to stop them coming across, because if that was the case, there would be no criminals or anything anywhere. Because to the guy on your panel, he's saying, oh, well, we do them quickly, we do this, we do that. But what do you do with them then? You can't send them back. Once you try and send them back, you have all these people up in arms saying, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. And half of the countries you can't send them to. So what are you going to actually do with them? Yes, and it's going to take years to catch these smuggling gangs and things. So there is no thing to stop the boat coming across.
Brian, you've asked Kevin a question. How do you send them back if they've thrown their passport away?
Well, you got to discover and determine, and you can do that with people who would know a country, asking questions where they're from. But if somebody is from Afghanistan or Iran, I think they're legitimate refugees. I'd allow them to stay. I'd allow them to stay and allow them to work.
What about the Vietnamese and the Albanians?
Oh, the Vietnamese, you can do a deal.
So anyone who comes here from Afghanistan should be allowed to stay?
Yeah, once they're here.
Wow.
Well, what, you're going to really send them back to the Taliban
How
and
many
a death
people live
sentence?
in that country who you would actually... So I don't know what their population is. Maybe it's 30 million.
Yeah, but but you know those figures are always. We got them during the Brexit debate that the whole of Turkey.
But all you need to say is, if you get here from Afghanistan, you can stay.
We don't have the infrastructure.
Afghanistan.
Kevin, do we have the infrastructure?
Latest
41 million.
Latest figures from Afghanistan. 4,843.
Sure, but once we say, look, if you are from Afghanistan, and by the way, we lost soldiers there, so that if I was a mum or dad of a soldier who fell in Afghanistan, I might take a view on that. But 41 million people being told if you get to Britain you can stay.
No, it's
hang on, but you're not. But Jeremy, that is playing into sorry to say this, into a very hard right reactionary mindset. The whole world is not going to come to Britain.
Okay, Kevin, I'm not hard right.
We have a relatively small number of asylum seekers and refugees. We have a much smaller number than in France. The reason, not France is a safe country, but under the UN Convention, you're allowed to go through other countries to the one you want a destination. Yeah. It's often they want to come here because we've been over there.
Okay, that is true, but Kevin, where do we put them? In order for us to facilitate these thousands, potentially in the next 10 years, millions, we're not house building, we're not, our NHS
Can I get another call?
Hang on.
Leave the question hanging. Tony in Cornwall, hi.
Oh, hiya there. Yeah, I'd just like to say that I don't trust any party or any government for that matter. I mean, we've been lied to since 2004, really, since Tony Blair. Well, definitely, yeah.
But I mean, hang on, you can't. We're saying, oh, that's it for politics. Forget it. We can't live like that.
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm just trying to say that I think politicians should be honest and say that high immigration is what they want. I mean, it's time, for instance, they took on the universities. I know they bring a lot of money into the country, but it's legal immigration that is huge. And it's like, to me, it looks like they're just using both the channel crossings to divert from that.
Interesting. Okay, Tony, thank you. After the break, we're taking more of your calls. Now, let's have some more calls on who you trust to stop channel migrants, because, of course, the election campaign has started and we've gone right there. Small boats. Josh, Labour or Conservatives? Josh in Dorset. Hi.
Hello. Yeah, it's Labour for me that I would trust, definitely.
And what? Because they've got a plan, the Starmer plan. I'm going to have this going on the whole time, aren't I? The Starmer plan is strengthen border force and get cracking and have a proper applications process.
Yeah, I think it makes logical sense, really. These people smugglers, their motive is to make money. So as soon as you break that motive, they're not going to do it anymore, are they?
How would you stop them? Because who knows where they are? Interpol. It wouldn't be just as easy to send a force into any country that they could be hiding in. So how do you think they're going to do it?
Well, you know what they need. They need boats, don't they? So if you can disrupt the supply of boats to these people, then you can disrupt their business, and then they don't make as much money, and they go looking for something else.
Thank you, Josh, very much. Let's talk to Barbara in London. Hi.
Hello there. Hi.
Starmer or Sunak to stop the boats?
Definitely Sunak. I think with Starmer, it will just be open borders. I don't think he's ever really been serious. The Labour Party has ever been serious about restricting immigration.
Well, it took off more, I suppose, the last 14 years of Conservative government have been the time when it's gone a bit crazy, although maybe you'd say it started under Blair. Is that right?
Yeah, under Blair, we were seeing an average of 200,000 a year, and it just continued to increase. Yes, it has increased now, but that's because of various things that's been happening in the world.
But that was EU. A lot of that was EU. I mean, Barbara, do you think we should rejoin the EU so we get a different migrants from our near... No.
But Barbara... No. Barbara, if it's your big issue, you had lower net migration when Britain was in the EU with freedom of movement within Europe. Now it's just hit a record net 750,000. It's come down slightly now to 685,000 in a year, but that's still one of the highest on record. I'm afraid if you want to trust Sunak, you want to look at his record.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there are negatives about what he's done. For instance, legal migration, students' visas, etc., bringing their dependents into the country, that hasn't helped. But also, our asylum system is far too lax. Why is it that the rest of the EU is about 75% it's about 30% that they accept, and with us, we accept in the 70%. So, there's something going wrong. I mean, for instance, just one example, an asylum seeker has only got to say that he's gay. They're not allowed to even ask for evidence. They're just swiftly pushed through.
No, I have seen that story, and particularly some countries, once you've declared yourself gay as part of the asylum process, you can't go back to certain countries. I think Caribbean countries included in that, actually, funny enough.
No, we welcome gay people.
Was there? Okay, I thought there was...
In Barbados, anyway. I know
I thought there were some issues in Jamaica with that, but I may be wrong, and apologies if I am. Certainly, obviously, if you come from Syria and you say, I'm gay, you can't go back.
Or Uganda, Commonwealth country, but...
Then we saw a lot of those. We saw a lot of those solicitors' firms advising people which lies to say that got them through.
So, okay, thank you, Barbara. Point taken very much. Alexandra in Nottinghamshire, hi.
Hello.
Starmer or Sunak to solve the small boats?
Starmer.
So you think Sunak keeps saying he hasn't got a plan, but you think he has?
Oh, no, sorry, Sunak.
Don't do that to me. That's happened. I'm doing it as well. Why can't they have more different names?
Sunak, Starmer.
They're like an anagram of each other.
You could get Pally and call them Rishi and Keir.
Yes, that's true. So you think Rishi will do it for you, Alexandra?
Yes. He's got some going out again. I was watching Politics Live yesterday, and there was Labour and Conservatives on, and the Labour man said that this where they're all moving out, they're going to quash it.
They're going to stop the Rwanda plan. Yes, that's right.
They're not going to let them be deported. They're quashing it if they get in.
Yeah, but isn't the thing, Alexandra, the point Kevin has made is the Conservatives have had 2 to 3 years to get this thing literally off the ground, and it hasn't moved an inch. And so at some point, as voters, we've got to say, this isn't working, is it? This Rwanda thing was never going to happen.
We should do a point system. Well, apart from that, to me, there should be, instead of them bringing them back in on the boats if they're sunk, put them all back on another boat and send them back.
Brilliant. So swap the boat and point it in the other direction, yeah. Well, I don't know.
I do take her point, because if you were serious about returning people back, you may say and criticise the Rwanda plan, but if the planes are ready, you would let them go and then introduce your new plan, because it's going to take essentially months or years to set up this whole police system and going after the people smugglers. We're not going to see anyone returned anywhere.
If only we
just let the planes go at least.
If only we were in a family of European nations, if you could create some organisation where you used to have an agreement, the Dublin Agreement it was called, where you could send people back over the water.
France doesn't want to work
somebody
with us.
Invented something like the European Union.
France don't want to work with us. They've made that clear.
OK, let's go to Michael in Staffordshire. Michael, Sunak or Starmer to solve the small boats?
I don't think it actually needs either of them. Any political party could do it. There was question time the other week, and the leader of the Reform Party was on there, Richard Tice, and he stated that there's 2 European laws in place that any illegal immigrant comes to this land can be returned to France, and none of the panel disagreed. So,
yeah, well, yes, opinion, but the French might disagree. Yeah. That doesn't. You can't just.
Nobody said it's in law. It's in European law. They said.
Yeah, we're not in the European Union, Michael. You may have noticed there was a referendum. It went the way I didn't want it. But one of the costs of going that way is we're out of the European Union, and there was agreements of gone.
OK, Michael, thank you. Last call. Alan in Edinburgh. Starmer or Sunak? Alan?
Sunak, definitely.
So you want the Rwanda flights to go?
Yes. And I think Kevin's being disingenuous when he says it's only going to take 300 people. He already knows that there's other countries waiting to join the scheme as well. So there'll be lots of places to send them, not just Rwanda.
Yep.
That's not good, right? One, that's not going to change 300 from the UK. And 2, most of the countries are looking at processing people elsewhere.
No, they're not.
Not
there's
deporting
other countries
them.
Lined up, and you know it.
Which ones? Go on, tell me. Go on, list them off.
Oh.
Sorry?
You know they are.
Sorry,
I can't name them off the top of my head.
I thought they'd gone... They weren't going Papua New Guinea, were they? That was Australia. Thanks, Alan. We'll rack our brains at this end.